If you are looking to get started with Zapier, this video is perfect for you because it will be a high-level overview of how to use the tool, consider it for best use cases, and even some best practices to consider when you're getting started. Now, before I create any type of Zap, the first thing I want to do is make sure that the two tools I'm using can connect. So you'll see here on my screen, I'm on zapier.com/apps. Also, a way to do this is just to go to Google, type in Zapier, and then type in Google Sheets connect to, let's say, ConvertKit or whatever the tool may be. And right there, you'll typically get, oh, look, I got a video here. And right there, you'll see different links that you can go to give you a better sense. Now here, you'll already see that it's connected these two. You could swap them if you want to start with Kit and move data to Google Sheet, or if you want to take data from a Google Sheet and move it to Kit. This is going to be really important to understand what is possible and feasible. Some tools are very limited. Some tools you could do anything. So it's really important to get a sense of what is possible. In this case, I have people filling out a form on my website that leads to a Google Sheet. And anytime there is a new row created, I want it to then in Kit add a subscriber to a specific tag. Boom. And just like that, those two options are there. It's feasible, it's doable, and now you can start to connect the apps. You can also go back here to the apps page and see all the tools and search for your favorite tools. I use Tally for forms a lot, so I'm gonna click on that. And then boom, once you've selected that, you could then see what tools you can pair it with and high-level options that you can consider. So here are a few that you can consider right off the bat. Now, when it comes to building out Zaps, you can do things that are multi-level and multi-process and multi-tools. So basically, this is what I mean. Let's say someone fills out a form on your website. After that, they can be added to your email newsletter tool, and they could also be added to the text service, and they could be also added to a Google Sheet, and whatever else you want to do. And this is the power of Zapier, is that you're able to do all of this in one multi-step Zap. And if you are getting started with Zapier for the first time, I definitely recommend using the link down below. You'll get a special promo code with that link to get started and get your account running. So as you can see on my screen here, I have a pretty in-depth Zap. Basically what happens is someone fills out a form. When they fill out that form, they add in a few emails for different people on their team. Then from there, you'll see there's a split path, which then allows you to take all these different emails that you get, add them to Kit via a subscription tag that you want, that you choose. So they're all different for every email. And then from there, we could add them to our text service, which you can see here as well. And this one is the most advanced because we do offer the opportunity for people in the form to add up to 10 different emails, which you could see that it'll basically filter the condition. If the next one is filled out, it'll go through that process and add them all in. So for example, here is an actual run of this, and you'll see all the green shows that it did work. And then when it stopped, so basically this hidden error, there was no email available in this specific spot. And so that's basically where it finished. And what's so cool about this, I can't show you the data, but I can go all the way back up to the main data point and see all the available data that it pulled, that then I can see if there was an error, that's actually an error, that's an issue that I need to resolve, or it just stopped because it ran out of options. And as you can see here, we have a lot of Zaps going out every month, and they are all working flawlessly. So let's go back to this Google Sheet and link it up to Kit, and let's walk through that process now. So we're gonna select these apps, and then it'll take us into this page. Now, if you've never been here before, this is gonna be a little confusing. You're gonna want a little bit of help here. I'm gonna walk through this high level, but I do have another video that does walk in depth on how you could leverage this at the highest level, get the most value from it, all that good stuff. All right, so the core aspect here is we're starting with a Google Sheet, and then we're moving to Kit. So we need to say what app, Google Sheet. From there, we select what event. So here is a new spreadsheet row, a new or updated spreadsheet row. There's a lot of different options. Take a look at all of them. But here, this is what we want. Then we need to select the account. This is so easy. We already have accounts connected, but you just want to connect the right account that is connected to the Google Sheet. Okay, so boom, we have connected the account, then we'll hit continue. Then it'll ask you which spreadsheet. Super easy, right? You just go in here, select the correct spreadsheet. Then from there, you want to select the correct worksheet, which is what page in the spreadsheet. In this case, we just have one page, but if you have 10 pages, you could select the 8th, 9th, 10th page, whatever you like. Once we select that, it'll ask for a test. Now, this is where I recommend if you are just starting out a new workflow and you have no data, put some sample data in there, fill it in and make sure it reflects what the data is supposed to look like. Because when you do this test, it'll actually pull data from that sheet. So now I'm going to test the trigger and you're going to see, boom, it pulled 3 different samples here, which is great. And if it's your phone number or email and you want to test it because you have automations built around it, this is really, really valuable. Boom. And so we see here, there's 3 options and you could click into it and see the actual data. We'll select one and then we'll go and complete this step and then go on to the next step. From here, we'll basically go through that process now to map all that data to where we want it to go in the second tool. So here we are, we have Kit already connected. If you want to change that, you could just click here and then search any tool you want. So easy to add any tool here, boom, and then go from there. So the account is already connected. Again, you'll just set up an API key potentially. It's pretty straightforward on how to do that. And then go into the next step. Now here, it's going to ask you what tag do you want to tag this individual with. So in this case, it's already linked to my Kit account, so it knows all the tags available. So I'd be able to select the correct tag I want to link them to. So if you go in here and you just type in / and then do first name, you'll see that it pulls the first name. Now this data that you see, it says first name here. So this is the field in the worksheet. It says first name. The name here is the test that we did, which is awesome, right? So I'll be able to click there. Down here, if I want to add this in, same thing. I just will type that in, boom. And whatever answer they provided will be there. And then we'll continue to go through the steps. Now you'll see here, the only things required are the tag and the email because, right, we're adding a tag to a subscriber. And this is where the nuance even comes in. I want to highlight a few key things here that are important about your experience. First of all, the email is a must. You have to add an email, but you might be saying, hey, but it doesn't say, how do I add a new subscriber? Well, it will add them as a new subscriber because if it doesn't find them, it won't be able to tag them. So it'll create that new entry for you. And that's where, again, when we go to this next step of testing, it will be really, really valuable for you to do that test to make sure the data does populate in Kit. Next, it may be worth noting that maybe you want an option that is not an automated field for every single entry, but it's one for all entries. So for example, if everybody who fills this out, they heard about us through a specific ad or an ad set or something like that. What I could say here is meta advertising, and boom, that will show up for everybody who goes through this process under how did you hear about us inside of Kit. Now, before we go further, I do want to show you a few useful tools inside of Zapier that are really, really powerful. The first one is, let me click on this plus sign. You'll see here, these are the built-in tools. And so you could do a lot with this. So paths is something I showed you earlier. We separated all the data to go into separate paths that are not contingent on each other. So if some data is missing in one, it allows the other paths to happen. The next one is formatter. Formatter is really interesting because let's say you have data in a specific way and you want to manipulate it. You could literally have the tool format it for you. For instance, if on your form it fills out your full name, but you want to just pull the first name or the last name, you could actually have formatter do that. The next one is filter. You could check if something is filled out, then continue with the next step. So for example, if you have a form that says, hey, do you want to participate in this part of the event? And they say yes, they check that box and you get a yes on the Google sheet. Well, you could say if that happens, then you want to also tag them with a second tag as well. So for example, if I do this, and then I create a custom field. Let me actually move this down so it'll go below it. So this is the main tag that would add them. So basically I could say if in the spreadsheet they selected this option, which it's released to liability, so everyone has to select that. You have all these options of ways you can format this, but I will do this one. If it's true, do a test and it should be a yes because everyone has to check it. And then I'll go to continue, and then I'll go back to Kit, and then I'll do another tag, boom, add a tag, and then I would go through that process again, where I'd then be able to select here select this tag and give them a secondary tag option that they can choose from. And then from here, this would be the secondary tag that they would then get tagged with on their account. Now, once you go through this whole process, at the end of it, you could test it, and all of this should be happening live. So you should be able to see the results showing up as you work through it. You may run into some errors, but that is a bit of the learning curve once you get comfortable with using Zapier and creating Zaps. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is pricing, because pricing is contingent on a few things. So first and foremost, multi-step Zaps do not exist in the free plan. So you would have to create a professional plan if you do want people to go through a multi-step experience. And this is important because with the free plan, you only get option to have up to 100 tasks per month. Now, if this is something where you get like 30 scheduled calls and you just want to be able to move them through a workflow, really easy to do, to have a few Zaps set up for that, that's awesome. But if you do want to scale, you will need to consider higher plans. And with the higher plans, you could upgrade the number of Zaps to numbers that make sense for you. So in this case here, you can see for the professional plan, we could adjust the number of tasks that we want per month. Look at this, all the way up to like millions of tasks, which is just crazy. $3,000 a month. That's just wild. But you could do whatever you want. So you have the full flexibility to adjust this how you like. If you need the professional plan, the teams plan, whatever you like to get started. And if you need to go enterprise, you could do that as well. Now, one more thing. If you are running Zaps and you want to see the history of everything working, you can see here, all these are successful. They're all working, which is awesome. But this one had an error. You could literally go into it, see where the error is, potentially fix the error, and then from there, allow it to go further. If you run out of, say, Zaps for the month, but you had more that were happening, it will actually hold those as well for you that you can then trigger later on, whether you upgrade the plan immediately or your month renews the next day or whatever. You'll be able to hold all of those and then use those later on. So it stores all the data, walks you through everything, and gives you full control of every aspect of this experience, which I think is pretty cool. Now, if you're getting started with Zapier, definitely use the promo link down below and you'll get a special discount with that. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.